All right, Ronnie's Troopy, it's back in the shop again. We're here to fix it today. What are we going to do? We're going to replace the secondary fuel filter to protect the injectors. Let's jump straight into it with some hints and tips of what you need to look out for when you change yours. Okay, so we're over at the driver's side of the vehicle and locating the secondary fuel filter, or the primary. This is located between the brake master cylinder and the airbox on one of our brackets. Now, really simple to change. There's a black coarse thread. We're just going to loosen it, drop the filter down, and away you go. Now, just a quick tip and a reminder, if you haven't cleaned the engine bay, now's the time before you expose the fuel system. So we commonly get asked, what filter do I need? The good thing is our fuel kits, when you look straight down here, you're going to see it's got the micron rating on the filter, and guess what? When you put the filter back up, that's the same place where it lands. The filter's keyed to the housing. 5 micron filter. We've got one right here in the box ready to go. So let's drop it off, show you what's inside of it. The plastic locking ring, I've got one hand through here behind the hoses and another one on top. Just get a firm grip on it, rotate it, lefty-loosey. You can see it's a coarse thread and it just drops down. And just like that, wiggle the fuel filter, slide it to the side. Pop the airbox clip off, give me a bit more room. It's a bit busy in this engine bay with a lot of accessories. Slide the filter down, a little bit of accessories in this engine bay. Maneuver it so you can get it out of the engine bay. My hand caught over here. All right, so we've got the filter up like that. We can leave the locking ring on there. Just going to bring that guy over to the bench. And the great thing is with these fuel kits, you'll notice that there is a clear bowl on the bottom with a cock valve. Now, you can see in there, or I can see, can you see any water? I can't. It is a water separation bowl at the bottom with a 5 micron. We're using that to catch the finer particles. Now we can just drop that ring all the way down, but before we do that, let's screw the bowl off the bottom. And this is where a lot of people go wrong when they're changing the fuel filter. There's an O-ring on the inside, and just see that there, how it just dropped away. That's good, it stayed on here. But what can also happen is that O-ring clips to the bottom of the fuel filter and they discard the filter and it stays on here. They screw on the new filter, it bottoms out around here. It seals enough to prime it up, drive it, or drive all day, let it sit overnight, and without that O-ring in there, you're gonna get tiny little air pockets and the car's gonna be really hard to start. You're gonna have to prime it every morning or have a really good battery and be cranking a long time. So there you go. Pretty clean fuel considering where this vehicle's been. I'd definitely like to say this has been tried and tested and it's been in the elements, this vehicle. I don't need to tell you where it's been. You've all seen it on YouTube. And one other tip, don't undo the nut and pull the bowl apart. It doesn't come apart. Thumb and forefinger on the bottom of the cock valve. You do get a new one of these in the fuel filter, so you can have a look at that as well. There is a dust O-ring on the outside. This is the seal that does the actual cock valve, so it doesn't suck air. The O-ring on the outside is just to stop debris sitting in this cup. So we're going to clean all that and put it back together. I just wanted to pull it apart and show you, and that is the most it comes apart. If you need to wash it with a clean bit of diesel to rinse it out, if you have got debris in there, do so. So I'm not sure if you can see there. I'm just going to wipe that off and see, this is why I said I like a white rag. You can see the red dust. The Kimberley is definitely in this car. And what I don't want is that. And the reason it's sitting around here is, like I said, the O-ring seals to the bottom. And I'll show you what I mentioned earlier. That isn't uncommon. And we've even had a lot of customers come in and say had their car serviced somewhere and it's just hard starting, and they tell them the fuel filter system needs replacing, something wrong with it. It's just a simple O-ring, which I've just... And just like that, you see how easy it was to lose it or throw it in the bin. So don't lose that O-ring. You don't get one with a fuel kit. However, we do have them as a spare part. So if you want to get one while you're ordering fuel filters, you can. Brand new 5 micron filter. And you'll see here, I talk about the filter's key to the housing. The micron rating is here. When you put the new one up, good reference point is when you look at the engine bay, it's usually looking at you from when you're standing in the bull bar on a 70 series. Just slide straight up like so. Take this new cock valve, the drain valve out, put the new seal and O-ring on the bottom. Like I mentioned many times, O-ring on there, filter on there, slide it up, cock this, the locking ring. You can get a rag as well and take some of the debris. Sure, this one's pretty good, but sometimes you can get a lot of sand and coarse, and it makes it hard to undo or do it back up. So just check that. Also on the housing on the vehicle, check that. You don't need to use vice grips or anything like that. If you don't have the leverage in your hands to undo this, what you could do is slide a filter strap around it and then just, you know, lightly use that as leverage point. Gotta love a diesel. Always have plenty of rags, because it doesn't matter how clean you are, it's always gonna go everywhere. So don't do this on a nice driveway or on your lawn, because the lawn will be dead. Next time, Ronnie, when I do this, I'm gonna do it in your workshop so you can have the red dust, the diesel, and all that grime for you to clean up. Okay, so make sure you don't do this. And as you can see, the O-ring dropped out. You need to do this, and the O-ring sits where it needs to be, and you screw the filter down. Don't have to do it Hercules. The O-ring is doing the sealing. You can't see in there, but there's a tiny little air gap. When the O-ring's not in there, people send it home. Like I said, it will start up and go, and away you go. One thing I haven't done is slide this ring. You can get that ring over it, but as you can see, it's a little bit tight, but it does go over, like so. I prefer to just leave it on there, or put it on there first, screw this up. But if you haven't, you can still slide it over. So just to clarify the fuel filter and the location, you are presently looking there in the front of the vehicle, and this line here lines up with the bleed. So I'm just going to undo that ring, pull that down, and as you can see, that's the milled slot in the housing that this key embossing here goes into. And when I get the older version, you can see the embossing's a little bit more deeper. Obviously things change with manufacturing a little bit over the time, so it's just a guide to go up there. The main thing is you just locate it in the right space. It's just to locate it. But this ring is what does the sealing of the fuel filtration system from filter to head, and this seal here pushes up in here. That's the actual doing all the work. The rest of it is just to locate it, and the ring, ready? You want to hear that snap into place, and away you go. Okay, so we've just lowered the filter down with the ring, and I've just pushed it up. Like I said, the micron rating is sitting there. Now the filter can turn a little bit in the housing, push it all the way up, and there's a little embossing here, and when you put your finger up in the filter housing, just on the opposite side here, on the inside, there's a milled out slot. The filter slots into that. Now, over the years, the filter body, the pressings, and obviously the manufacturing has slightly changed, and they sometimes don't locate as best they should. However, you heard that click, and like I said, the flat line needs to line up around here. Okay, so we've got the filter sitting up there. The end goal, this little flat section here, will line back up with this bleed valve. Sometimes it'll be a little bit tight, but you'll get it in there. Okay, so what I want to mention here as well, I made reference to this bleed nipple. You don't need to undo that. We've had customers undo that, try and prime off the factory one. You are going to be there for a month of Sundays. Do yourself a favour, don't touch it. Only look at that if you've got a problem, and generally if you haven't touched it, you won't have a problem. Same thing on the top here. This ring on the top can screw off. However, that's made if you need a lift pump for different applications. You don't need it when we're fitting it to our fuel kits here that we make. The fuel barbs, they're all fully sealed in there, pre-done when we deliver them to you in the kit, so you won't need to touch them either. Like we've had problems with other manufactured kits over the years. Air fire hose clamps, quick little tip, flat blade screwdriver, Toyotas, they come with a double-ended screwdriver. You can give them a quick little tip, tweak, just make sure that they're sealing nicely, inspect the fuel lines, make sure they're all good, no leaks. Now we're going to drop straight over to the factory fuel line. After the factory filter, we're going to pull fuel from the fuel tank through this filter, through the primary filter, and right before it feeds the engine, we're going to get all the air out of the system into our special tool, the V8 bottle. If you've got a 4-cylinder, that tool's not for you, you only get a little bottle. And then we're going to connect it, prime it, start it, and away you go. Okay, so to locate the correct fuel hose, the factory fuel hose from the tank is coming up the fuel line chassis over to our primary fuel filter, then back to the factory fuel filter, out of the factory fuel filter, down here, and going to feed the high pressure common rail pump. So to bleed the fuel system, we're going to take off the supply hose, and you'll see here, Toyota have given us thumb and forefinger clamps. This one runs down here. Follow the right hose. As you can see, I'm moving it there. And if you can see that down here, thumb and forefinger. And I'm just going to rotate the hose, twist it, then pull it off. I'll lift the hose up and we'll put our bottle here and we'll bleed it up. Okay, so now just going to put the hose in there, put the bottle, and this is where it's going to take a fair bit. You're going to see, you see in there, you'll see a little bit of fuel is going to come through to start with, then it's just going to go real foamy. The primer here that's coming from the fuel tank started a little bit firm and then it's just gone completely soft. So you can see there's the diesel. Now that's the diesel in the line to the factory filter, and you're going to see it go completely foamy in a minute. That's when it hits the air pocket of the new filter, feeding the primary back over to this. The fuel bowl, it's nice and golden. Fuel's come up from the fuel tank, filled the bottom of the filter up, and now it's fed our factory fuel filter, and we're about ready to reconnect the hose we had off earlier. We've got no major leaks or anything like that. Last couple of pumps, we got all the air out of the system. It's a fair bit of diesel. If you're worried about your fuel economy, maybe put it back in your tank. So what I'm doing here is I'm inspecting the end of the fuel hose. Usually what happens on a diesel is you get tiny little frays around here, and you only need a little bit of air to suck down the side of the diesel line, and then it's just going to cause you a whole lot of grief. So have a good inspection of the fuel hoses, and like I said, our air fire hose clamps create a full seal around the hoses. One thing we see, if this is the wrong size hose on the wrong metal pipe, it should push on the pipe and be quite firm, and the clamp does the last bit of sealing. If you're pushing the hose on and it's just loose and the clamp's doing all the work, you've actually got something wrong in the fuel kit you've got in your vehicle. And that's one thing I would always say, make sure you've got a quality fuel kit, because the kit's only as good as the kit is and as good as it's fitted, as well as maintained. So now we've connected the hose up, give this the last couple of pumps, you'll feel it get really firm like that. Now we're ready to start the vehicle up, check it for leaks, and ideally wash it down. As you saw in the video, a little bit of diesel residue went down there. You don't want that on the driveway, and rubber bushes and diesel. If you have got a leak, big thing, diesel eats rubber, especially suspension bushes, and it just swells them. So if you've got a leak, fix it. Now let's start this beast up. So we've just started it up, as you heard, and I'm just going to give this a light, couple of pumps, just so if there is any last little bits of air pockets in there, it's good to go. Job done, fuel filter's changed. Now to reset that fuel light on the dash. Okay, so the two fuel lights on the dash, top right there, the ones in amber, what they represent is one is the pressure differential and the other is water in the fuel. The pressure one, the black sensor, if that comes on, even if you change the fuel filters, you need to reset it. Let's show you how to do that if that does come on. Black sensor on top of the factory fuel filter, disconnect it, go back into the cab, and we're going to turn the ignition on. The two lights, the fuel light, the water bowl, and the pressure differential sensor, the black one that we're resetting, they're going to come on, and then they've gone off. What we're going to do now is we're going to reconnect that black sensor. Easy as. Now we're going to turn the ignition back off, then turn it back on, and the light should be off. Just like that, you've reset the fuel light. All right, fuel filter's changed out, last checks, wash down, road test, job done, fuel system's ready for that next trip. Until then, I'll see you in the next video or out on the tracks.